Pokemon card collecting has gotten so disgustingly expensive and just so disgustingly unfun to do that it's actually pretty much pushed me back into another card game that I used to be really big in, but I kind of took a little break from because, hilariously enough, when I stopped playing this a couple of years ago, it was having a very similar problem to Pokemon, and that game is Magic the Gathering. While Magic the Gathering never had a problem scarcity issue outside of maybe collector's boosters, but that is an intentional design because those are a premium product that are only have a smaller amount printed. Magic the Gathering's products almost always can be found for under MSRP. And I want to talk about that because they actually keep up with the demand and what the customer wants, as opposed to whatever Pokemon is doing with their card game today. I'm Terrible Shoes. Let's talk about this topic. This is not going to be an incredibly long video. I just want to just vent a little bit of frustration about the current Pokemon market, and I want to actually show you a little comparison of something that I think it's just something a little ridiculous as to what value you can get out of Magic as opposed to Pokemon. So when it comes to Pokemon, the MSRP for a booster box is about $165. Yes, I know that sounds really crazy. When I played Pokemon during like the big prime time that I played, you used to be able to get Pokemon boxes for under $90. This was obviously Sun and Moon, and it continued very heavily into Sword and Shield when it had first started as well. And I don't think a lot of people remember that because you used to be able to go online and get booster boxes for so far under MSRP that it was crazy. It was a deal and a half. You could eat 2 booster boxes for the price of 1 at retail. Unfortunately, with today's market and with the way that cards are today, at least just Pokemon cards, you would getting it at $165 or whatever the new MSRP, if they raised it again with the last couple sets, because I really haven't been paying much attention after I couldn't get English product after Terrestrial Festival, or what was the English of it? Prismatic Evolutions. Wow. Again, I collect foreign cards mostly now because you can actually get them. So basically, I really haven't gotten any English since then. A couple packs here and there. I got a Pokemon Day box, and I also got a bunch of Black Friday boxes, which were very easy. You know, they did the right thing with those and actually printed a ton of them so that people could buy them. I know that's something Pokemon doesn't like to do anymore. So yeah, basically, ever since then, I'm starting to kind of lose interest in collecting Pokemon cards because, so also I want to say another thing here. I do play the physical TCG, and I am starting to notice that certain game pieces that shouldn't be more than $1 or $2 are selling for a lot of money. For instance, like the Pokepad and shit from Ascended Heroes. It's just not right. The Pal Pad, it's not right that you have an uncommon going for $14, $15, when historically I used to be able to fully foil out a deck and put all the premium versions of it in that deck. Like for instance, like the gold version of the item card, or the, I guess what now actually we have a lot of full art versions of item cards. You used to be able to do this for under $100 easily, unless you had like a really big game piece that itself cost a lot of money, like a big game changer card in there. And that was really it. For the most part, you could actually completely max rarity out of deck for, I'm going to be a little generous here, maybe about $250. Now it just doesn't make any sense to me how it costs less money. It costs less money to max rarity out a full deck than to of what a booster box, buy a booster box in today's market. It just doesn't, I don't comprehend it, I suppose. And another thing too is max rarity out a deck now is nigh impossible unless you're incredibly rich, especially now that SIRs are going for the price of 3+ booster boxes sometimes. I've never seen anything like this with Pokemon. It does not make a single lick of sense. cards that are actively being printed and sold on store shelves, even with the scarcity issue we're having now, should not be going for $700 and $800. I totally can understand a set that has been out of print for 5 to 10 years go having a card that goes for that price. And even then, I think that's a little crazy because it was never that serious. Even when, like I said, even with sets like Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, it was never that serious. Cards were never this expensive. Same thing with X and Y, Black and White. What a lot of people don't realize is the majority of these cards, unless they were severely playable, were worthless. And I mean that. They were worthless. Sometimes cards that would have been cars that are going for $300-$400 today would have been like $40 max back then if they had come out then. And I'm serious about that. You might look at me like I'm crazy thinking that a lot of these new people in the hobby, but they don't understand how cheap collecting this hobby used to be. Doesn't make any sense. Magic the Gathering back in the day, we're talking 6-7 years ago as well. 6-7, haha, funny joke. Literally years ago, had a huge problem like this as well. Might even be longer now because, again, I took a really long break from Magic because I just kind of lost interest in it outside of what I had already made to play with, because I do have a lot of EDH decks. I played a lot of Modern back in the day, and I think it is absolutely insane that you can... This is something else I wanted to talk about as well. This was the main point of the video. I think it is utterly insane that you can create a fully functioning competitive Modern format deck in Magic the Gathering for less money than one Pokemon card costs today. And it be completely competitively viable. And that's even with putting a few foils and max rarities in there if you really wanted to. Now, I'm not talking like the crazy cards, because Magic the Gathering does also have really crazy cards like Pokemon that are worth $300-$400. But the difference being is Magic the Gathering has so many options for competitive play that actual regular non-foil copies of cards aren't going for $20-$25, because Magic has designed a system that I think works very well, in which there is like multiple entry points for the same card, where you have the non-foil and the regular foils, which price-wise are not particularly high, and then you have your premiums, showcase artworks and such. That's where the price starts getting a little steeper. So, point aside, Magic the Gathering has solved the problem of cards being unaffordable and the game being inaccessible to people who don't have a lot of money, by actually creating something that is strictly a premium product and something that is not. And so what I want to talk about is I got back into Magic the Gathering recently, and for the price of one Pokemon booster box, I was able to purchase myself multiple EDH precons that I can now either play straight out of the box, upgrade very cheaply to make them even more competitively viable. And on top of that, I didn't pay MSRP for a single item that I purchased. I purchased both of the Bloomburrow precons. I purchased both of the Lorwyn ones that just came out, and I even purchased a Final Fantasy one, of which I did not pay over $30 for any of the in-universe ones, and the Final Fantasy ones I actually managed to get for about like $45 online, which is also still under its current value. I got Titus, Final Fantasy X, that one. Now, with that, I spent around the price of a Pokemon booster box to have 5 fully playable decks that I can take apart and are eternal. Cards are eternal unless banned, and the value that I'm going to get out of those 5 decks will far exceed anything I would have ever gotten out of a Pokemon booster box that I might not even get an SIR out of. The value you get for playing Magic the Gathering is infinitely better than Pokemon at this point, and it's really pathetic and it's really sad, because like I said, at one point, Magic used to be the absurdly expensive game to play, and it seems that within about a decade that has flipped completely, in which Magic is the most accessible card game, in my opinion, to play. and Pokemon is completely inaccessible for both playability and collectability. It's just really sad. That's my personal opinion. That's really all I wanted to say today. Got a couple of them right here, all sleeved up. I got new deck boxes for them. Here's our Lorwyn Titus. They even made a card to the laughing scene, which gonna be real. That actually, so again, I didn't really do any research on the Final Fantasy one before I bought it. And just seeing that there was a card of that one scene from 10 where they're laughing and that like horribly dubbed laugh. Seeing that was actually really funny. And you know what? You know what's not funny? The market for Pokemon now. So that card alone, in my opinion, is better than the entire Pokemon market. So that's really it. The point of this video being that I have a feeling a lot more people are going to get sick and tired of the way the market is and are going to just kick Pokemon to the curb and try other card games. It's very bad for them, and I don't really understand why they have not put a stop to this yet. That's really about it. I'm Terrible Shoes. Let me know if you've had a similar experience to this, where you've been driven to play something like maybe even Digimon, One Piece, anything like that, because you just can't deal with the pricing anymore for Pokemon, even on a strictly competitive level. It's just really upsetting. That's really about it. See ya.